All right, let's make a video on fade in and fade out. So let's talk about the setup here. First of all, I have two scenes. In both of them, I have drug an actor. So I'll show you real quick this actor. I'll just pull him off the screen. So scene one is orange with a little button in the corner, and I just drug this black actor over top of it. And scene two is blue and a little button in the corner and just a black actor over top. And if you got a bunch of stuff on the scene, you can just drag the black actor over there last, or you can literally probably either just tell it to go to this place and have it off to the side, or even spawn it. So here's some options that you could do. But just for right now, I just pretend I've got the scene built, and then at the very last, I move the black actor over top. So we've talked to it a couple different times, so let's talk about what we've got. So fade is just this actor right here. It's a little bit bigger than my scene size, and I just can place it over top and turn the whole scene black. Okay, and button is simply this little guy down here, and it just displays the word fade. So let's talk about some of the coding that goes on here. We'll start off with button. So it displays the word fade, and it just says when touch is pressed, set game fade out to 1. So as you can see over here in my game attributes, I do have one Boolean that we've created. So again, one Boolean created. And with that Boolean, I just simply control the fade one way or another. So when touch is pressed, set that to true. And I'm just going to put 1 here. All right, means the same thing. So if I go back to fade, let's look at some of the coding in fade. It just says, if it's true, interpolate self-color alpha to 1 for 2 seconds. So what this will do is, if it's true, it'll fade it to black. And then after 2 seconds, I tell this thing to go to the next scene, and I tell it to set fade out to false. And so if fade out is false, let's look at what the else statement says here. It says the opposite, interpolate self-color alpha to 0 for 2 seconds. So this actually gives me a fade in and fade out for each initial screen. So if you'll look over here in game's initial fade out is set to false, so it's going to come through the else statement. Else statement. If game out is false, which it is, go down here and do the else statement, then interpolate self-color alpha to 0. So it'll initially fade in, and then when I hit the button, that's the little trigger that are going to turn fade out to true. And so once fade out is true, it'll fade it out. It'll wait 2 seconds. It'll change scenes, and it'll turn that fade out Boolean back to false again, which should fade us back in the next scene. So it looks something like this. Fades in. If I happen to hit fade, now again, you don't have to click a button here. You could have it whenever my character hits the door, whenever a certain score is reached, whatever else, whatever trigger you choose. I just chose a button press in this one. So I hit it, it fades the alpha down, it changes scenes, and it fades it back out. If I do it again, it'll do it again. Fades out, change scenes, fade back in. If you don't like the speed of the fade, you can always slow it up or speed it up or slow it down by changing this for 2 seconds. If I wanted a slower fade, I could make it 4 seconds there. I could make it 4 seconds there, and that would give us a slower fade. If we run it in, slowly or fade in, hit fade. It should go a little slower on the way out. That was interesting. Oh, I still got the trigger after 2 seconds change, so that's why that was a little goofy. So after 4 seconds, if I happen to change it, run to completion. So 4 seconds, it should fade in, and it should fade out, change scenes, and fade back in. All right, so again, there is your code. If fade out is true, this is for the fade button, interpolate to 1. After 4 seconds, switch the next scene and set fade out back to false. In your else statement, it simply says if fade out is false, fade out is false, then interpolate back to 0. The button just changes the Boolean. If touch is pressed, change fade out to 1, and it says the word fade. Not too bad. Thanks.